Welcome, welcome, welcome. Get my background a little straight here. Just a moment. Let me get my IG going live here. Create. Go live. Well, Wednesday. Welcome in, guys. Giving y'all time to join the live. Welcome in. Okay, go live. Okay. I can't go live on my IG. Okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. Welcome in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. I'm Vonda Hakeem here with True Roots Legacy. And every Wednesday, I'll be going live so we can go over some ideas and conversations about protecting your family and building financial stability and creating generational wealth. Okay? So tonight's class, we're going to go over, by the end of class, you should understand a better understanding on life insurance, the basic types of coverage, and whatever questions you have. As we go through this tonight, just drop any questions you have and we'll get to them before the end of class tonight here. So whatever your questions you have, just drop them in the chat. And again, welcome in. Okay, so the first question I have for everyone is, if your income stopped tomorrow, how long could your household continue financially? Okay, that's something we don't usually ask ourselves. So if it stopped tomorrow, how financially secure or stable is your family? Okay, and the question of the things that we have to discuss is your funeral expenses, your mortgage or your rent, household bills, your debt, children needs, your education, replacing lost income, and actually leaving money to your family. So those are things that we have to think about to make sure if that income does stop, that your family is still financially secure. Okay, so life insurance 101. First, we're going to go over what a policy is. That's just the person who owns the policy. That's the policy holder, okay? Policy holder is the person who owns the actual policy. The insured, that's the person whose life is covered. Okay, that's the person whose life is covered. That's the insured. The beneficiary. Beneficiary is the person or entity, again, person or entity that's receiving the death benefits. Okay, then we have the premium. That is what is paid to keep the policy in force. And that can fluctuate. You can determine what you want that premium to be. And then we have death benefits. Money payable to beneficiaries when the insured dies. Okay, so that's the death benefit. That's the actual face value of the policy. Okay, the goal here isn't just simply to say I have life insurance. You have any questions, what coverage you have, what amount you have, what type of policy? Drop those questions in the chat and we can get to those in a few minutes. Okay. So I'm going to go over three different types of policies here tonight. We have term, whole life, and then IUL. That's Index Universal Life Insurance. So term coverage is a specific period or time frame. So you can have a 10-year policy, you can have a 20-year, 30-year. I think it goes all the way out to 40 in some cases. So term policy is covered for a particular time frame. Generally, the terms of a term policy are extremely low, based on your age and health, of course, and can provide substantial death benefit protection. So all policy are good policy. The only policy that's not good is if you don't actually have one. Okay. Term policies are useful during high responsibility years, so it's always good to have a policy. So it doesn't matter what type. Okay. So our next policy that we have is whole life. That is a permanent life insurance policy to remain in force for life. Okay. That whole life policy stays in force for life. Okay. Now, it's a permanent coverage. It does build a cash value, has a cash value component to it. It's typically a higher premium for that whole life policy than term would be. And it guarantees, depends on the specific policies. So it guarantees payout. And then the last one is IUL, which is Index Universal Life. Okay. So this is a permanent universal life insurance, which also builds cash value component to IULs as well. Now, with IULs, it performs with the market, meaning the index S&P 500. It does not invest in the S&P 500, but it actually performs in the market as the market does, as the market index. Okay, so subject to this particular policy is also subject to policy caps. So it has a floor and a ceiling, which is good, which means you never lose, you always gain with this particular policy. And then the policy isn't directly investing, of course, in the S&P 500. However, the cash value is in the stock market or the index. Also, term insurance need to be properly designed and funded and monitored. Don't sell the IUL. Make sure you keep it, let it build, always fund it. You can overfund it as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, drop it in the chat and we will get to that. And so that's the basics on term insurance, whole life insurance, and IUL. If we have any questions regarding term, whole life, or IULs. Because now we're going to go over some of the myths that people say, or I would say not myths, people rebuttals as to why they don't want insurance or they think they don't need insurance. And one is, I have insurance with my job. That's one that I hear quite often. And that's amazing. If your actual job offers that, most certainly take it. However, also, life insurance with your job is like a company car. It's the best way for me to explain it. Once you leave that job, you give that car back. Same idea with your life insurance. Okay, so it's always good to get the insurance with your job. Also have your own as well. Okay, so you can never have too much. Okay, so most jobs, the coverage is very low. It's generally not enough to cover your family's needs. So keep that in mind. Also, if you ever want to a review of your policy, just let me know. Any questions? Any questions? Okay, the next one is, how much life insurance do I need? That's a little bit of a tricky question. There is no set amount that anyone should get. What you should do is add up your income, your debt, uh, what amount that your family needs to cover that, what amount do they need if you have children for their future and their education, whatever other debt or resources that you have to add that all up together. I oftentimes tell my clients do 10 times your salary, and that generally would be enough. If not, that's just a general go-to that I generally share with some of my clients. Okay, so two people make the same salary can need completely different amounts of insurance. So there is no set amount when it comes to how much do I need. So the next question I generally get or I want to address is common life insurance mistakes. Okay, waiting until you're older to actually receive coverage. Life insurance looks at two factors, only two factors. That's your age and your health. So as we get older, as we get mature, as we are more seasoned, the policy premium amount will increase. So be mindful when we tell ourselves that I'm going to wait until I get older, because that just FYI, your premium will be more the older you are. Okay, another mistake that most people say is assuming employer insurance are automatically enough, as I just covered. It's great to get, have also obtained your own insurance policies outside of we work. Okay, buying a policy without understanding it. So if you are looking to obtain some insurance, make sure you understand what that policy does, what it's for, what it's going to cover, because there is no uh, there is no specific amount of policies that you can or can't have. So there's no limit to how many policies you can actually receive or actually obtain. If you can actually pay for them and fund them, you can get as many policies as you like. I have some clients that have 15 policies alone, so you can have as many as you like. Okay, so definitely make sure you're understanding what type of policy you have. If you're looking at policies, make sure you're understanding what that policy does, what it's for, and making sure it's the best policy to fit you and your family situation. Okay, another mistake is never reviewing your beneficiaries. This one we have to do, I would say yearly, because oftentimes, life happens, things change. We could have our beneficiary as somebody who's actually already passed away, and then we need to change that. We need to update our policy in a new beneficiary and then a new contingent. And that contingent is if the beneficiary is no longer uh, alive, then the contingent will actually take over, or the funds will go to the contingent. So just be mindful of that. I also recommend if you're going to have a beneficiary, do not make it a minor, because the minor is not able to obtain the policy premium after if they're not 18 years or older. So make sure you take a look at that. Always review your policy. And then the next one is buying based solely on the cheapest premium. Um, I oftentimes tell my clients if you're looking at a policy, make sure that policy you can set it and forget it. I don't want it to you to get a policy and then not able to sustain that policy. Meaning you can't your policy lapse, you no longer then you cancel your policy. So now you've paid money to a policy that you've let lapse, and now you have no coverage. I don't know what time has passed, so you could be older now if you're not trying to get another policy, as well as now you may have health issues. Lapse, no longer have a policy. You have health issues, and you're older. So they're factors that will cause your premium to be higher if you have to, get another policy. And another mistake others do is getting coverage and never reviewing it after major life changes. So that falls in line with not checking your beneficiary. So always, I would say on a yearly basis, check your policy, make sure you keep it updated. And another very important factor that I share with my clients is make sure whoever you share or write on your policy as a beneficiary, make sure they are aware. Because a lot of policies go un are not cover are not released to the family member because no one knew that policy actually existed. So make sure you send, contact the person who's the beneficiary, let them know that you do have a policy, what your amount is, give or take. If you like to share with them, you can. If not, just let them know that there is one and let them know where the paperwork is. That way they don't have to try and figure out where everything is, once a life event actually takes place. So make sure life insurance is reviewed periodically, especially after marriage, a divorce, a new child, buying a home, major income changes, or starting a new business. So always keep everything, all your documents in a up to date and in a place to where they're easily actually reachable. So, any questions right now? Q&A. Do we have any questions about what we just went over? No questions. Okay, I know some say, okay, can I have more than one life insurance policy? Yes. You can have, as I stated earlier, one of my clients has actually 15 different policies. So you can have as many as you're willing to actually pay for. So there's no limit on how many policies you can actually have. Another question, can I get coverage if I have health problems? Absolutely. There is always a carrier or company there that I can find to actually have get you covered. And when I say that, it will more than likely not be the amount that you want. However, but you will actually have some coverage. So I can actually find you coverage, just may not be the amount based on whatever the health issues you may have. Okay, another question we had is life insurance expensive? That depends on what is expensive to you. Um, I will say the longer you wait, the higher your insurance premium will be because, of course, it's based on age and health. So that would determine the cost of your life insurance. So, what happens if I stop paying? Another question, if I stop paying, your policy it will lapse and the policy will be canceled, which is never a good thing because I had one client had called me up and said she had another insurance provider there and they were trying to get her to cancel her policy she had on her daughter she's had for like 20 some years and then get this other policy that he could put her in and she could pull the money from that policy and get another policy. I'm like, so when I went over there, I actually went to her home because she lives local, and we, discussed it a little further. I'm like, did they give you a price on what that other coverage would be? Because of course it would be extremely higher. The daughter is, I think, 40 some years old now, so and health issues. So more than likely it wouldn't have gotten the coverage, or it would have gotten the coverage but very low premium and high premium and low face value of the policy. So of course she did not do that. So any questions you may have, someone share with you, always check. And even with me, check it just to confirm, make sure that's accurate. If you have a question, I don't know the answer. I'm not going to say I know everything. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to find out for you though. So another question. Can my beneficiary use the death benefit however they want? Absolutely. If you don't specify how, because you could have a will or a trust, and how you could have your actual trust as your beneficiary, and you can dish out um, how you want the funds dispersed. That's totally doable and up to you. Absolutely. Okay. Do we have any more questions? Any more questions about the different types of policies that we went over tonight? Any more questions regarding what we went over? Term life, whole life, or IULs? We also, there is one more, which is final expense, which we did not go over earlier. And final expenses, you can, policies, generally smaller policies, 5,000 to maybe 20,000. Um, and you can have that dedicated just for final expenses. So that actually is an option as well. So my challenge for you this week is simply find your current life insurance policy, actually look it over, know your death benefits, know your beneficiaries, what type of policy you have, what type of coverage, and then if you need to make any changes, updates, by all means, you can give me a call. If you don't know whether you have enough coverage or you don't understand anything, you can always book a free consultation. Or if you need a quote, that's actually also in my link as well. So I'm always available. You can reach me on Facebook or Instagram, um, Fonda Hakeem. And then my YouTube is True Roots Legacy. On Instagram is Miss Vonda V. And truerootslegacy.com. Of course, you can check out my website, and my number is 980-285-2161. Okay, so I'm going to finish with this. Protect what you've built, for one. Prepare for what you can't predict, and build something your family can carry. Excuse me. Okay, so again, protect what you've built, prepare for what you can't predict, and build something your family can carry forward. That's what our Wealth Wednesday is all about. And again, subscribe to True Roots Legacy and join me next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be back again with Wealth Wednesday. Last call. Do we have any more questions? Any more questions? All right. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. I'll see you again next Wednesday.